First up, Patrick, I gather there's a little bit of news about trainer attachments.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I'm joining Toaster now. I got a few pups and a few dogs sort of needs grading, and I spoke to Andy and Kevin Boothby, and with their extra meeting and everything, by the time they're graded on, they should have the extra meeting, and hopefully these dogs are more for the top end of the grade, and hopefully they move on to be open races in due course.
Yeah. How many dogs have you got on the racing strength at the moment?
At Central Park, I've got none at all. I got here about 26 dogs, something like that. Some of them are really young still. Um, Skillful Sandy is still here, but she's in pup now. Hopefully, she's in pup to Ballymac Speed.
Yeah.
So she made it. So, but that's all I got here. And I sold a couple last week to Tony Collette to be graded at Central Park. And I got a couple more, but they're young, but really they need grading. They've been really sort of, as that is not really minor open racing at the moment, the maidens and the winner of, I think really they need grading.
Yeah. We should be able to see a picture on behind me of a certain
Yeah,
boy who's, I gather, has just gone off to his forever home, as they call it.
yeah, that's Big John. He's a beautiful dog, absolutely beautiful. He was in the Momo Puppy Derby, finished second behind Troy Zico. Brilliant dog, brilliant race dog, great attitude towards race. Won in 1 year 16 opens. Yarmouth Derby finalist, won the Gold Cup. What was a brilliant race, with Raps good dog in it, King Turbo.
So, yeah.
Velvet Juliet was in it. That were really, really good dogs in it. And he's done us really proud, this dog. He got to the final of the Olympic after a broken hock. He got to the final of the Essex Vals. He didn't really stay, we just tried it to see, from the front, but it didn't happen. But listen, that dog never ever run a bad race.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. You were particularly fond of him because he was just such a brave dog, wasn't he? And obviously he had a serious injury and came back from it to
Yeah,
reach Category 1 finals after a broken hock.
yeah, he broke his hock, and then we nursed him back, and he come back, and he won a Category 3 at Central Park, and then he went on to the final again of the Gold Cup, and then he finished third, I believe, or fourth, I can't remember. And then he got to the final of the Olympic, where he finished fourth, and he got to the final of the Essex Vals. No, he done ever so well, but listen, the dog. If I would enter him in this winter derby, he wouldn't be that class no more, and it's not fair on that dog.
Yeah.
And listen, if there was sort of still opens on a Sunday night at Central Park, he would still win them, but there is nothing. So, and I don't want to go down that route with that dog to run him in graded races. He deserves much better, because the thing is, he's so brave, and he would get so frustrated that he'll get hurt again.
First of all, clearly because he's the dog of the moment, Kilara Lion.
Yeah.
After that fantastic win at Toaster, do you feel he's a dog that sort of has always been a little bit underappreciated until now?
He might have done, but really, I'm not that bothered about things like that. I always speak to the owners and I say how highly I rate him. I even rang him when the betting come out for this blue ribbon that Toaster when he was 20-1. I couldn't believe it was 20-1. Dual category on. Listen, Dermy was favourite, and in my opinion, was a worthy favourite. But listen, you don't win two ones by being lucky, and they all had a good bet, and they're all over the moon. But he's been performing really since the Yarmouth Derby. He won that in great style. He won the great style, the Kent Derby. Then he won a heats and a final at the Olympic final night. And then he come back and he won this. And really, if you look at his record, it's phenomenal to run against top class 4 bend dogs. And you know yourself, Floyd, it's much harder to win these 4 bend races than when you have sort of a marathon type dog or a sprint type dog, because when see with Goldie Huddle, he's a specialist at Romford, and it's easier. But what I'm saying is you have less opposition really, and there's no disrespect to the other dogs, but because he's a specialist at that track, this dog goes to Yarmouth, goes to Central Park, goes to Hove, goes to Toaster, and he performs everywhere. And I think you know, he's one of the best dogs in the country now. I'm not saying he's the fastest, but he's one of the best.
Yeah, I was going to say that that's perhaps the key, isn't it? Because he got through to the two finals that he won at sort of fairly big prices, and I guess there's a tendency amongst punters to go, well, he was a big price, was he a lucky winner? And he's proven twice, and now for a third time that he isn't. He is a genuine racing machine, isn't he? When he needs to step it up, he steps it up.
He does, and when he won the Arm of Derby, come off the pace, to beat Angela Harrison's dog, Truby's Carrot, who come out and won the John Lamb Memorial, I believe, at Paddy Bar. So that form is fairly very good. And then he went to Central Park, where it was a big prize, but he flashed out the lids, the dogs in behind at every chance, and he won in 28.50, what was a great run. So, and now he went through this unbeaten, and I think the way he battled in the first round to beat Mark's dog, and then he won the semi-final from the front, and Fawn Rebel turned second. They couldn't get to him really.
Yeah.
And in the final, he comes off the pace, and I think it was a great advertisement, not only for the dog but also for the track Toaster, because everybody says you have to lead, you have to do this, you have to do that. At most tracks you have to lead really, but it proved that you can come from behind that Toaster, and I think it was a great final. It was a very good race, and it was exciting to watch.
Do you think it will perhaps put some of the knockers to bed? What is it that irritates people about the place? You know, you think people should be embracing it, surely.
See, the thing is, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, yeah. And listen, I was never the biggest fan from Peterborough dog track.
Yeah.
Until we, well, when I worked at Marks, that was, and then we got Fear No One. 10 races, 10 wins. Won the Peterborough Puppy Dog, Peterborough Derby, and the Fengate Collar in 1 year, unbeaten, and was the greatest track. All it is with dogs is horses for courses, You go to Crayford, I took there Slick Sebastian, who won the Mitch Millwall Memorial, when it was the first time in Romford, and he won that great style. He beat Mark's good dog. What was it called again? The great stay, the one at Hove after he broke a hook. The Bullet. Billy's Bullet, yeah. Anyway, he won that. I thought this would be a real good golden jacket dog. He ran terrible, because he just didn't like the place. But do you have to slag the track off then? Next time, then you get a skillful Sandy who loves the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The golden jacket. It's all horses for courses with dogs, And I think with Toast, it's probably a bit the same, Listen, I went with Buckers Domi to Nottingham and he couldn't run it,
Yeah.
Do I hate Nottingham? I don't really hate Nottingham, but it's not that particular dog's track. When we had Ronnie's champion, he never got beat there. Do you know what I mean? It's all, and I think you have to look at it in perspective, and people, I think there's so many, social media, is that good? It is a little bit, but I'm not too keen on it, because you get so many, everybody has an opinion, and suddenly they're all experts and they're all slagging this over, slagging that over. Now, there's so much negativism coming out of that, and I think you have to look at the positive things. When I went Saturday to Toaster, I thought it was clean. The track was in very good condition. There were good racing. Listen, it's not only Toaster, but I can't knock most places really. They're all trying. People just trying to slag them. It's very difficult under these circumstances. We win a Category 1 race. We're standing there, me and Cheryl at Rostrum with Jonathan Mobbs and Dave Clark, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? There is no really from winning these races, and because there is no atmosphere and everything. But that is the way it is at the moment. You have to get on with it.
Yeah. I've taken some stick. Oh, you're the Toaster, Toaster PR or whatever, and I think, well, my only priority is what do I think is best for dog racing. Now, I could be wrong, and I will promote what I think is best for dog racing. And if I end up with egg on my face, so be it. Wouldn't be the first time. I've been doing this job for 30 some years now. But there seems to be a certain element within our industry that just cannot but help knock. They can't wait for things to fail. They almost seem to be wishing things to fail. And if Toaster becomes what I think step by step is what I always thought it was capable of being, as this
Yeah,
incredible weekend venue that's a sort of the centre of the sport of what we do. And that's not knocking anywhere else. I love Monmore,
yeah,
one of my favourite tracks, Yarmouth, loads of other tracks as well. But why not just embrace it, and why not look forward to it and say, you know what, if this brings more people into the industry, if it's something we can be proud of, if it produces the kind of race that we had in the Blue Ribbon final, why the hell not, you know? But I
yeah.
don't know. There's this negativity. We've always had it, and if you're not careful, you end up sort of, I don't know, at that level, I guess, just moaning
Yeah,
for its own sake.
I always have that with sometimes with when when you deal with people and owners and sort of thing, and with other trainers, and when people are negative. But if you're negative, why get out of it and do something else?
Yeah,
Don't do dog racing.
yeah,
Yeah. Listen, I would love to be more prize money. I would love to be more, but I love to have the things different. But at the end of the day, I have my hands full on training dogs, and
yeah,
that's what I do. I don't want to get into politics. Do you know what I mean? That's up to somebody else. Up to GBGB, everybody knocks them. Are they good? Are they bad? They never done me no harm. Listen, I give them credit because we're still racing. There's a lot of sports who don't happen. We're still racing every day, everywhere. So at the end of the day, they must be with the right people to have the right rules and the regulations to keep us going. So you have to give them some sort of credit to, that we're still going. You know, so I can't see why every time people are so negative about everything.
no. It's interesting. Whenever I'd speak to yourself, I speak to Mark, I speak to Rav, I speak to John Mullins, I speak to Kevin Hutton, and everybody loves Toaster. And you know, Rav was telling me on the night of the when the meeting was called off for the first round,
Yeah,
and he said there was no whinging, not a single complaint from anybody. Yes, unfortunately, the weather's got into the track. We don't want to break our dogs up. We'll sit here and have a coffee, have a chat, and then we'll all go home. He said, and you know, yet again, social media was kicking off about how
yeah,
terrible it was, and but the people whose opinions I would respect didn't have a problem with it,
no,
and
and he gives us all £70 for travel. You
yeah,
wouldn't get it anywhere. You wouldn't get that anywhere else. You know, listen, unfortunately, Bocas Dumi had a serious incident there. He broke his leg, but that wasn't his fault. That wasn't the track's fault. That was just right. The dog was too brave for his own good. He was too
yeah,
brave. If he would have, I see it happening, and if he would have stopped, it wouldn't have happened. But he don't stop. It was break or bust.
yeah.
That's it. That's how he raced. That's how he was at Hove. That's why he won so many races. And unfortunately, he broke his leg and then he died of a heart attack. And it's very sad, but it's not Toaster's fault.
No,
That is not their fault.
no, no. It was funnily enough. I remember on the preview, and everybody could see it happening, knowing how determined he was, knowing how he
Yeah,
desperately wanted Trap One. Kevin Boothby brought up a subject that I know it wasn't original, but he was making a reference to it. This idea of these sort of like a double R as a railer,
yeah.
the dogs that should only ever get Trap One, and I quite like the idea personally. Don't get me wrong. I think it would have to be very seriously monitored, and you'd have to kind of get a certificate to prove that you were a double R railer that should always get Trap One. But if it prevents that kind of injury, and you know, even if it's only one race in 500 where it prevents that kind of injury, because in a graded race, the point Kevin was making, there's no way would Bocos Dumi, a dog with his running style, would ever be in anything other than Trap One. What's your
No.
view on it?
Well, I think they should maybe do sort of rails, rails to middle, middle to rails, you know, and then middle to wide and wide to middle. You know, I have loads of dogs really. You know, do I want with Bocco's belly? Do I want trap one? No, I rather would have trap two is his ideal draw. But I
Yeah,
don't want to end up in trap six because if he's in trap, he's got no chance. So that is, you know, and then but you can't just give because Bocco's doing such a tight rail every time trap one because then you give him really a head start. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody, especially with the caliber of dog he was, then people will start moaning from he's always at strap one. So you can't really do that, you know. That is
so
a
what's the
bit of part.
solution?
You have to do rails, rails to middle, middle to rails, and then middle to wide and wide. So you know,
So
because a
you
lot of,
should reduce the chances of him ending up in a 3 or a 4
yeah, that's it.
if you had pure
Because
rails.
there's a lot of dogs, and we all do it. You see rails, but they don't really want trap one.
Yeah,
You know, they're more one trap 2 or 3, really. You know, but if you see the middle and you end up in 5 and 6, it's no good. It's just no good for them. It's no good. But and that sea glass tiger, he was the same at Mulmore Green. He would go sharp left from any draw until he was on the rails, and he didn't always do it at other tracks, but he definitely always did it at Mulmore, and he would be double R there. But at other tracks, he sort of could run from rails to middle, really. But
yeah.
and don't ask me why they do it, because you can't look at them. Them dogs can't talk.
No. So what would your solution be? I mean, do you take some of these decisions away from trainers and give them to racing managers? Because at the moment,
I,
you know,
yeah,
maybe as you say, trainers are in some cases their own worst enemy. I'm sorry, I'm being devil's advocate here, but it is the case that, I mean, even amongst you trainers, nobody wants to go online and talk about it and be quoted on it. But privately, I've talked to many trainers, and they are really irritated with other trainers because they know bloody well that that dog isn't a railer or isn't a middle seed.
yeah,
So
but
do you take it out of their hands?
don't think you should take it away from trainers, not at all, you know, because at the end of the day, you want to see the dog where he's best suited. Yeah. But then when you come to places like Nottingham, that is definitely a bigger advantage to be on the rails and middle to wide. Yeah. And you could see that in the Derby finals who've been there. And then really the railers want to be in trap 3 or 2. They don't want to be in 1.
Yeah,
Um, well, everybody said the same thing about Toaster, but I've been there to 2 finals, the Puppy Derby and this Blue Ribbon, and you always had a level playing. We had 3 railers, 2 middles, and a wide.
mm,
That's what happened every time. And in the Puppy Derby final, 3 railers and 3 middles. So it's a more level playing field at Toaster, in my opinion, than it was at Nottingham.
yeah,
And this is criticising Nottingham. These are just the facts. I know
yes,
what that is. But I don't, and there is some people who see their dogs then rails, what shouldn't be rails. But see, them people, they think that's why you have to have seeding rails to middle or middle to rails. You know, because you see, Bocco's doing his rails, but
yeah,
some of the dogs, they want trap 2 or 3. You know, like Linton Whelan, he won't move off. He don't move off, but he runs better from 2 and 3 than from 1.
yeah.
I know he won a lot out of 1, but he still breaks better from 2 and 3. And there is more dogs like it, you know.
So how do you
That,
cope then when you're in an open race final, and you know perfectly well that another trainer has seeded his dog incorrectly on purpose just to seek an advantage? I mean,
yeah, but then there's the racing manager. Listen, the racing manager from Monmore, he rang me after I see Bucco's belly rails.
yeah,
And he rang me, do you think he's rails? I says, I tried it from track 2 in a sprint, and the comments are rails. Yeah.
yeah,
I says, you run an island from rails. I says, you know, what do you think is his best draw? I says, not 1. I says, 2 is his best draw, in my opinion. He says, we put him in a race, we see them rails, yeah, but if he's not rails, we have to see the middle next time. Do you know what I mean? You have to work together really with the
yeah,
racing manager.
absolutely.
And you can't. And I says, that's fine. And he stayed straight. Yes, once he was in front, he runs middle, you know what I mean? Because he's chasing the hare. How many dogs stay on the rails? There was only Bucco's doing me really, and sort of attempting. They stay tight on the rails even when they're in front.
Yeah,
But most dogs are middle because they're chasing the hare. But that's you've got to have the respect from the racing manager, and the racing manager has the respect from the trainer as well. Because when they had Bucco's Alfie, he was all over the place. And when I said to him, where's the seeding? I says, you seed them. You sort it out because I'm sick of it. You don't want to be rails. You don't want to be, I don't know. He had at one race card, he had 3 comments, rails, middle and wide.
yeah,
So what do, you know? And then in the end, everybody agreed in the end to see the rails.
yeah.
But, you know, sometimes with some dogs, it's very difficult. But I think there has to be a mutual sort of arrangement between racing manager and trainer. You know, that's what I think.
I know I know Pat Rosney. I think he even on one of these Zoom calls made the point about, you know, trainers trialing dogs from one sort of trap, you know, like a rails trap, and then asking the dog to be seated mid or the other way around. I can't remember which way it went. So basically, if you're going to trial a dog, then you should have to trial it from what you think it is. So if you think it's a railer, and it comes out of 1 or 2, and it swerves across to the middle, then you lose your right to it for it to be a railer. Conversely, if you think it's a middle,
Yeah, but then see when you go Crayford, yeah, every dog will move off. Do you know what I mean? It's when you used to go to Hall Green, when you go Yarmouth, Jesus Christ, when you go Yarmouth, every dog moves off. They need 3-4 goes around the place before they can really adjust to the track. So if you go with Buckos Doomy I went with Buckos Doomy to Nottingham the first time and he moved off.
yeah,
You know, and that's not because the middle runner, but because he don't know the track. And sometimes when you trial a dog from track 1, from a track like Crayford or Yarmouth, you know, the angle from the bend is wrong. So from when they come at the second bend, it's even worse and swing off.
yeah,
So I had a typical example the other day, Catty Cash. And the comments at Crayford were rails run up, yeah, moved off at bends. You know, but he is rails, yeah, but he moved off at the bends because he has to get used to the bends. And then the second time he still moved off, but not as bad, and hopefully he get better and better at it.
yeah.
So sometimes, you know, is seeding is probably most difficult from the traps to the first bend. It's not what they do down the back straight, because then the race stand out. It's from the traps to the first bend. It's always a question. It's always difficult.
It's interesting because, of course, years ago, like so many things in dog racing, they were possibly done better in that, because there wasn't so much open racing, and because prize money was kind of for open races was that much more, and that they were more highly sought after, they were more highly rated to run in opens. It was quite common for a trainer, if he had a dog, someone like Jeff de Mulder wanted to run a dog at Wembley, would perhaps give it 2 trials before he would even race the dog around Wembley. These days, there are an awful lot of trainers go, well, I can't justify that. At least I'll get my runner money. He'll find his way around in a race. And maybe, again, that's one of the problems, because as you said yourself, if a dog doesn't run the track twice in the same way, because second time round he's a little bit better, a little bit more used to it, that again would abdicate some of those problems. But that's not likely to happen anyway, is it?
No, but I think that's sometimes it's totally wrong, you know. I'm not scared to admit it. I withdrew dogs when I was draw outside dogs at certain tracks.
Yeah.
When dogs on the inside never did a trial, because I said to them, you'll get hurt. You'll get hurt, because that will definitely move off.
Yeah.
And that's why when you go places, you know, there's certain tracks I don't mind taking dogs first time up. But there's certain tracks you can't go to Yarmouth without a trial. Yeah, you can't go to Crayford without a trial. And they even stated in when you enter dogs, preference given to dogs with trial. You know what I mean? And you should trial. You should, you know, it's for the welfare of the dog. It's for the welfare of everybody. And what they say then, the next thing is, oh, that track is bad. The surface was this. It wasn't prepared right. And really, you know, you should look at yourself, you know, because you should take them dogs for a trial.
Yeah, I've often thought that, Patrick. You know, the people looking to excuses for other people, and because they haven't done their own job correctly, and obviously the good trainers do, but the bad trainers don't, and that's one of the things that separates the two.
Yeah, I just don't, you know. Listen, I took dogs first time up, and they won first time up because you have them type of dogs, you know.
Yeah.
But certain tracks, you know, even when we used to go to Hall Green, what was a good track, I liked it, but you need a trial. You just need, because everything moves over at the second bend, you know. But once you've been round there a couple of times, it was brilliant, you know. So, but you got, if you want to do open racing and you want to win an open and you want to do it, you have to do it properly. You have to trial, in my opinion.
Thing is, as well, these days, you know, as I said, I'm obviously of a certain vintage, but these days everything is videoed. Everything, you can even see it yourself. It's on YouTube or whatever. So there isn't an excuse now. You do get to see these dogs. It's not as though you get one glance at it in that first solo, or maybe 20 people at the track on the morning saw which route it took. Now it's there for everybody to see, and certainly, I don't know. I think even better use of some of the cameras. I think there's a little bit limited use on cameras where you could get more cameras in at the first bend on a lamp stand and looking down rather than
Yeah,
put some sideways on. But I don't know. I guess that would be progress. But
yeah, it is. It is. But listen, it's. I've never been to Henlow with a dog without a trial. I remember one dog we took once there without a trial. It was when I was still working for Mark with Droopy Sack,
yeah.
and he won first time up 550. But now most dogs you've got a trial when you go somewhere.
Finally, before we go, we should also mention, of course, Desperado Dan in terms of the awards, because he's got to be there or thereabouts. I would have thought for the not
Yeah,
only for his class, but for the big one as well.
yeah, he does. He won the Gold Collar and the Champion Stakes. He's been a good dog all year round. Got to the final of the Essex Vars final as well. He's a brilliant servant for the kennel, really. He was the leading point scorer from all the dogs I have here, so that says a lot how consistent he was all year, really. Listen, he's past 4 now. He absolutely loves going racing. When you take him out in the kennel, he don't stop barking until he's on the van. But we just take every race how it comes, and let's hope they vote for him. But that's only a matter of opinions. At the end of the day, he's he's our superstar, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was looking earlier because when he runs at Crayford, I think it's something like his 92nd race.
Yeah,
which is some record, and it's all been in good company, hasn't it? It's throughout his career. He hasn't got sort of 30 graded races in there. It's always been up against the real good stuff.
yeah. He won an A2 at Central Park. Then he won a maiden open. Then he went to A1 and he got beat a couple of times. And then he won 3 on the trot. And then
didn't look back.
I said to him, we should try him at 575 Romford, because I don't think he's got the pace to go with these proper 4 bend dogs, because he lacks a bit of middle, but then he comes home very strong and he never looked back. And then he won the Carnation Cup in 2019 and got to a few finals. He won 2 rounds of the Derby as well at Nottingham. And then he sort of progressed, and then he sort of had a bit of a flat spell. And then he come back and he done very well in the Champion Stakes and the Carnation Cup. And yeah, he's Carnation Cup with the Gold Collar. And yeah, he's been a great servant all year round.